Hello everyone. Hopefully the audio is all okay. I've sort of upped the music volume a bit. I probably still need to play around with it a bit because I think it's on desktop mode or whatever, so if I turn the music down for myself, like there, I think that turns it down for you. So I think that's turned it down for me, but also for you. So we'll try and leave it a little bit higher because I want to hear it as well. So hello Ronnie, hello Lars as well. So I've moved the camera now, so it's directly behind the laptop, so that I'm looking at the laptop and I'm looking at you as well. So yeah, so this stream, obviously you can see that I've already started building the Voron. This stream is just going to be sort of a bit of a roundup of what I've done so far. I wouldn't call them issues, I would call them just the feedback that I've got so far. I want to give you that information as well, and then give you the responses that I've had, so that we're all sort of on the same page, because I'm not here to sell you anything. I'm just here to show you it and let you make up your mind, really. So I'm going to use my phone because I've written stuff down, and I can also reference the answers as well. And if you've got any questions about the kit as we go, or the answers that I've been given, just let me know, and then I'll either try and answer them, or I can then pass that on. So I think we'll just get underway, because I want to also build the Afterburner Toolhead tonight as well. So yeah, so the things I've come up against so far, now obviously I haven't fully built the printer, so there may be more things to come, but these are just the things I've found so far. So if you've watched my live stream, you'll know that I sort of commented on a couple of things as I went. So there was, on the wiring loom, the cable that they give you for basically the tool head, and then that runs all the way down to the electronics bay. The 14-pin Molex connector had like the, I'll call it glue, but it was like a white adhesive or something in the connector. So actually, I'll tell you what I'll do is I'll read all of my list and then give you the answers. So there was that. The labels on the wiring loom were also not in English. So although I can probably find that out just by like using a multimeter and testing pins and everything, that wasn't awfully that helpful. I sort of made comment that because the kit doesn't come with all the printing parts, maybe to give us an ABS sample rather than a PLA sample would have been a good idea. The aluminium bed, so the 8 or 10 mil aluminium Mike 6 bed. Overall, I was very impressed with that. I think it's definitely a good quality bed. My issue was that it was basically covered in oil, machining oil, and then it looked as if they'd put a protective layer on both sides, which was obviously sticky when they put it down, and the whole bed was just really oily and sticky. And also they've then put like the heater mat and the PEI surface directly on top of it in the package, so I didn't think that was a particularly good idea. So something else will come up, will be a bit more frequent within these questions, is that not everything was to R2 spec. Now this is an R2 variant of the 2.4. So the first thing I noticed was that the feet weren't R2 spec. The feet were basically similar to these ones. I just switch over to the overhead cam. So the feet were similar to these ones, which were, I think these are like the old style amplifier feet. So they are not, oops, they are not the R2 spec. The R2 spec are basically like hockey pucks, basically like a thick rubber, all uniform size foot. So that was the first thing I noticed when it comes to R2 stuff. I sort of made reference to the fact that the heated bed, the one that's supplied, and I know why they've done this, is 220 and 110 volt. If you remember the old days of PCB heaters where you had to solder your own wires, you could actually have it for 220 or 110 volt. So this heated bed has 3 red wires and then your thermistor wires. So it's not even particularly clear because the wires are all the same colour. So that was something I fed back. Another R2 addition to the kit is Wago connectors. There was none in the kit, nor a printed part. My MGN 12 rail, which will be the X rail, was rather poorly packaged, and the packaging had actually split, and there was very light surface rust. I've now cleaned the rails and greased them, hence why they're on the printer, and that surface rust came off immediately, so that wasn't an issue, but I still fed that back. Next thing I've got on my list is the Orange Pi and the Spider board. Neither of them have got SD cards in, and we sort of touched a bit on that during the unboxing, but it's basically because it comes pre-flashed with Clipper, and it also, the Orange Pi has got onboard memory or storage, so that wouldn't need an SD card anyway. The extra thing I noted about that is that I personally would want to install the software myself, so that I can immediately set up my Wi-Fi connection. I can make sure I've got the most up-to-date version, neither of which you can do with them straight out of the box. I've been told, I'll come back to that. So there was no grease for the rails, no thread locker. Yep, so I think LDO pre-thread lock their fasteners, but in this particular case there is no thread lock included. Next thing I've noted that there's no foam, the filter foam, good evening, for the what will be the rear exhaust of the printer. Right, and I'll just go back to that one I missed, which is quite an important one. So as we were going through the kit, obviously I opened the fasteners box and had a little look inside, and I don't think at the time I made reference to anything other than to say, oh, M3 threaded insert, there's 90 of them, and it didn't appear that there was 90 in there. But that actually led me to a bigger discovery, and that is that the kit does not come with all the fasteners that you need. But in one way, it's actually not Siboor's fault. I've actually got the documents up here so we can have a look at them. So let me just bring this up. So if we look at this, let me just select that. Okay, so if we look at this is the sourcing guide for the Voron printer. So if we look here, so we've got Voron 2.4, and you can't see that because the camera's in the way. Hold on a second. There we go. So you can see that I've got 2.4 selected. And then if we have a look at M3, and you can't see that either. Hold on. Let me just completely get rid of this. Okay, so if you have a look here, M3 threaded inserts, 90. So this box has got 90 threaded inserts. However, if we go to the sourcing guide, to the configurator, and we go through this and we say direct, new build, blind joints, IJUS, 350 or 300, sorry, and if we go to show and then scroll down a bit, M3 threaded inserts says we need 110. So yeah, I'm not really sure what to say about that. Oh, hey Stephen. I think we've spoken about this before on Facebook. I thought I had already mentioned that I had that laser. So yeah. So this, and I'm just picking one thing at the moment. We'll go into a bit more detail. The sourcing guide does have a disclaimer that the quantities are not correct. Is that actually on there? Can we look at that on here? Yeah, so where is that actually written on here? Basically my point is, in defense of Siboor, is that they've looked on here, made a list of the stuff they need to put in their kit and put it in. What they should have done, and again in a second I'll go back to their responses to my questions, is what they should have done is gone to here and read from this list. Okay, but yeah, you know, in sort of their defense, they've gone by this list, but that's something that I've picked up. Let me just switch over to this camera. Yeah, so that's sort of quite a big thing, because obviously if you was to buy the kit at the same time as I got mine, you might not have all the fasteners. But yeah, another sort of thing that I'm something that I've fed back to them, something that I've picked up, is that I think I've spoken about this before, particularly on Twitter, is that they have edited the Voron build guide to sort of include their kit specifics. And I realise I probably need to lower that camera down, so I'm still looking at the laptop. Yeah, so their build guide, they've edited to conclude that you're using a spider board and an orange pie, blah blah blah. But what they've also done is edited it, and to such a degree where they've actually lost information. So again, I've got that, but I can bring that up just because I want to illustrate it to you to see, so you can see what I mean. So which one is this? So this is the Siboor one. Okay, so there's a couple of bits of information we can look at on here to get an idea of what's going on. So first of all, the date for the version, 19th of February 2022. We go to an official Voron guide, it's the 4th of the 7th 2022, so they're already out of date. But we can also, if we go on here, there's 255 pages in the Siboor kit manual, and in the official one there's 293. So I was obviously building the kit, and as I said, I was never going to do it on a live stream as such. It's always going to be, I'm going to build it off camera and then sort of come back and do something like this so we can sort of discuss it. And basically what I discovered when I was going through the manual, and I know you're supposed to go through the manual all the way, and I think it says it in there a couple of times to say read through the manual a couple of times. But there's, in the Siboor one, there's nothing about cable chains. That whole section is missing. They've also, because they don't provide the Wago connectors, they've basically the whole mains wiring part of their manual is your power inlet, wire that to your power supply. So it sort of misses a whole section out, particularly where we talk about the heated bed that also needs to have some mains connection, etc. So that's, so far, that's my feedback to them. And I could probably just have a look to see if there was anything else I remember, but I'll just show you basically I'll talk you through their responses, because for me what's important is not to just go to them and moan and say this is wrong, I've not got all the fasteners, blah blah blah, and then make a video. This is about working with them to improve their kit so that anyone who's watching this in the future is getting what they need to build the kit, and it's to help them to build a better kit. So, okay, so if we look at the responses, so the first point about the glue or whatever it was in the connector, they're basically saying that it's so that there's no error. Basically, they're basically saying so that none of the connectors come loose. Now, obviously, maybe they're getting their looms made by someone else, so that's something that they need to talk to them about, to say either don't do it or they have to make the decision to carry on doing it. Personally, I don't like it. I would prefer it wasn't in there, because if I need to change a cable, I've got to fork out all this white gunk. In terms of the labels on the cables, and that they're not in English, they are in future going to provide bilingual labels. So they'll I imagine maybe try and, if I just actually get the thing, I can show you. That's not a very good example, but so basically, so say this one, for example, the ground wire, that's pretty easy because it's just a ground wire, so it's got ground and then whatever language this is in. But this connector, for example, and if we just go over to the main camera, this one, for example, has, I have no idea what that is. Like, there's no information on there for me whatsoever. But they might be able to like put the English version on the other side, and they may even do they may try and do regional kits or regional wiring looms, I don't know. So they've basically addressed that point. In regards to the sample of filament they put inside, basically PLA is easier to print, so that's what they've put in, basically. And I suppose in a way, if they've got to provide the colour that matches the parts that they're sending, then they might not be available in smaller sizes. So I can sort of understand that. And I've actually now bought so the kit actually uses eSun ABS Plus. So I've got fire, I think it's fire truck red, fire engine red, and black, which is the colour of the parts they've sent me. So I can now print the remaining parts that are needed for a full Voron. Where else did we get to? Yep, so they've recognised that the feet are not R2 spec, so they're going to change that. They're going to feed back that the bed that was covered in oil and it was all sticky, that they're going to check that before they package them to make sure it's not sticky and not oily, and give that a proper clean. In with regards to the bed being a dual voltage, basically they're not going to change that. But another thing that I picked up is that in their manual, the instructions for the wiring was very difficult to understand. Basically, both statements, one for the 220 volt, one for the 110, basically said the same thing in different words. So they've changed that already. Basically, I'll get on to also what they're doing about documentation, but that's going to be changed. They talk about the SD cards as because of onboard storage and because they're pre-flashed. Now, in terms of, I'll come back to that actually. The grease for the rails and the thread locker, it's basically to do with shipment regulations or prohibition. They can't send certain chemicals or liquids or whatever, but they're so easy to find yourself. So I'll probably put a link in this video actually to Princey Please, which is where I got some grease, EP2 grease in a syringe, perfect. And then literally just went down to Halfords and bought, and I'm not sure where I've put it, but it's the stick version of the thread lock, which is like the preferred version, because the liquid is a bit too liquidy and it just goes everywhere. So the little stick is like £7, perfect. And then I just sort of fed back some information around their advertising on AliExpress. Didn't really match what was in my kit. I was expecting there to be basically just plain wire that I had to crimp for the whole loom, but it turns out that you got a loom, so it's just stuff like that basically. I've sort of made reference to the fact that the power switch or the power socket is not like, well, the colours don't match like which are the wiring colours in the UK or in Europe maybe. I don't know, I guess that's again because they're trying to do basically a kit. They can just take the kit off the shelf and send it to anywhere in the world. They haven't got to have multiple SKUs for different regions. They're not going to change the colours. Now, I said in my unboxing video that my plan is to build the machine stock. The one exception I'm going to make to that is mains wiring. I have got, so because my kit didn't have the right amount of fixings in, they're going to send additional, and they're going to send some Wago connectors, and that could be in future kits as well. But I'm just going to change the wiring to suit the colour code that I'm used to here in the UK. But otherwise the kit is going to be basically built as it comes to me, apart from those sort of instances. And in terms of actually the fasteners, what they're going to do is they're going to change that to match the thing I showed you earlier, so that you should get the correct number. And they're also going to increase that. They're going to have 15% extra. I don't know if that's an overall 15% or 15% of each thing, because there's like quite a few things in there. So I think that's really good. They've obviously listened to my feedback and they want to make their kit better. Let me just go through this. Basically, in terms of, and the only other thing was the filter for the exhaust on the back. Basically, they are under the impression that everyone's going to sort of build the Nevermore, and so they didn't include that. Whether they should include that or not, I don't know, but obviously I've fed back what I have found. So in terms of documentation, that was actually a fairly recent piece of feedback by me, so that's an evolving situation. But as well as Siboor now having a Discord, which should be linked in the description, they also now have a Discord. They have a GitHub as well. So documentation is going to go straight on there, rather than how they were doing it, which was via a Google Drive, and sort of you having to contact them and then they send you the link. There's a few people at the moment who have got kits who are sort of giving this feedback and going through things, and it sort of was generally considered that they should have a GitHub instead. So that is now up and running, and I will put a link in the description later. I'm just going to go through this quickly and see if there was anything else. There was a couple of people noted that on the printed parts, mine were pretty good, to be honest, but it was whatever they'd used for either adhesive, or to me it actually looked like they were having some PEI delamination as well on their printer. So that was actually getting stuck to the bottom of the print, and it was really like someone tried just normal soapy water, they tried IPA, they even tried acetone, and they could not get that off. That's something that's going to be addressed. They're sending out replacement parts to the people who brought that up, and they then showed us a video of basically a part that had been taken off, and it was a hell of a lot better. So I'm confident that they're going to sort that sort of thing out. Oh, another thing that I noticed when I was going through the manual is that there was no the 1mm and 3mm foam for the panels. So that's again something that they're going to include going forward, and they've got coming out to me. Let's have a look. So we've talked about that. Yeah, so I think that's basically it at the moment for things that have got to be fed back. I personally don't think that there are reasons not to buy their kit. I mean, if you just need to go in the Voron Discord, and you can go onto other vendors' channels, and nearly all of them have problems with their kits, LDO included. So, you know, it happens. It's the way that it gets addressed and fixed that's the important thing, and I think they are definitely looking to do that. So I'm just going to take my jacket off. So yeah, I think that is something that's going to be looked at. So I think we should understand that the kit is going to evolve over time. I believe the Formbot kit for the 2.4 evolved massively from the first ones to what is available now. So it just does take a bit of time, and it takes people giving constructive feedback for them to understand what's going on. But I think they're going to be okay. I think we'll create a kit with our feedback that'll be really good. Does anyone have any questions about what I've gone through, or anything I've not gone through, or anything like that? Tea's getting cold. I'll assume that there isn't any questions at the moment. I'm just going to get the manual to the right place to start building the Afterburner. Yeah, no questions at the moment. Excellent. I don't know why that's here for. So we get to use our Vector 3D linear motion press. Let's plug that in. I won't turn that on yet because that does get pretty hot. Oh, just enjoying the stream while doing some printing and doing some work. Multitasking, yep. That seems pretty normal. I'm sure each company makes changes after they get feedback. Exactly, Nick. I think, personally, if I found something that was dangerous or completely incorrect or anything like that, and they either refused to do anything about it or fobbed you off, I can understand why you would not want to buy the kit, or why you might tell other people not to buy the kit. But I think personally that they're very open to feedback and to try and improve their kit. So yeah, it will. Does the VLMP work as it should? Well, it puts inserts in if that's how it should work. I mean, I've done. So we'll have a look at what I've done in a second, because obviously we'll have to move it back over. But obviously I've got all the Z drives on. Basically I've got the gantry and everything connected, all the belts are run. So there's a lot of parts with inserts in already. And for me personally, whenever I've got one of these tips anyway, which I had in a normal a normal soldering iron for. I found it very difficult to get it very vertical without going at a slight angle or pushing in a different angle. This is so much easier because you just literally just push down and it's going dead straight all the time. So really the only thing you've got to look for is not pushing it too far in. I've been eyeing their 0.1 kit, which is very well priced, has good feedback in their store. It's called Youth Edition, which I think is a bad translation of small. No, as far as I'm aware, so the youth version has some slightly different hardware. I think particularly the bed. Now the bed on a normal Voron is like 8mm aluminium tool and plate, or however you want to call it, with a silicon pad underneath, and then obviously your build surface. I believe the Youth Edition actually has a PCB heater, and that's your heater and your aluminium bed, and then you put a magnet and your flex plate on it, or it might even be like a build tack sheet that's permanently on it. So the Youth Edition is like an almost not cut down, but a slightly different spec version. And I don't know if hopefully you're all subscribed to him, but I can't pronounce his name correctly, but is it Mandik Reilly? He is going to be doing a video on the 0.1 Youth Edition, so you might want to watch his video, because I know he's brought up a few things in the Discord, a couple of things where he has admitted to making just a slight misread when he's reading the documentation, but he recently posted a comment with regards to the bed. So if you wanted to join the Discord and have a look at those comments, that might be a good idea. Because again, I'm not here to sell you their kits. I'm here to give you the information and where to get it. So it might be worth just doing that, because it's not quite the spec over a normal Voron Zero. I think their other one that they do, so one is like a teal and silver, and the other one's a red and black. I think the red and black one does have what is more traditionally the V0 bed, I think. But yeah, so they're not quite the same. I've just got to get my music going again, because we're not watching it, it's decided that we're going to pause. Is that going again? Yeah. Yeah, I would definitely join the Discord. Feel free to ask questions. I am an admin moderator of the Discord. I didn't ask to be, I was just added when I joined. But again, it helps me get my feedback to them, so I'm not unhappy about that. Right, let's get on with doing this. So we've got to put some heat sets in. So I've got the parts down here. I think I might get most of the parts out just so we can have a look. I was sort of moving stuff around earlier. Let's put this over here. Yeah, we'll come back to, we need that. Might need that. Yeah. I'll probably try and put as many of the inserts in one go, so that they're all in. And I'm going to make sure that I put them in correctly. So that one's got to have 3 in. 4 in even. Where's my mouse? Yeah. And then this bit. Okay. So let's turn this on. You get a little red light. And we've got cable chain mount. And then this little thingy. Yeah, okay. That'll do, and we'll go from there. So this is the soldering iron that actually came in the kit. So what I did with Vector 3D's VLMP, the files actually, one of the files allows you to create a different holder. So I just took some measurements and made the holder for this soldering iron. And I need to concentrate a little bit here to make sure I don't mess this mess this up. So we'll let that warm up. It's the only one on that side. I don't know how well I'm about to get a close-up of this. I might have to show you it after the fact, so that you can see it. But it's really easy. You just literally line it up and push it down. Let's see if I can get a close up for you. It's a bit hard to, don't know where the focus is. The focus is a bit far away, but that is basically flat, absolutely perfect. I really do like this tool. Where do these go? These go on this side. So this could be a little bit of an issue because the part is not 100% going to lay flat. So what I might do is just get something to, maybe a bit of belt is enough to just bring that level. Yeah, it's a bit better. You do need to be a little bit careful when putting inserts in with an iron, because they can get quite hot, both the iron and the inserts. And there's a few different ways of sort of putting inserts in. I think this even does reference somewhere about putting it in 90% of the way and then using like a metal object. The Bigger Fish says that inserter looks familiar. Where might have you seen that? But what I do is, I've sort of noticed that when you put the inserts in, they sort of almost, how do I want to word this? Basically, they sort of rise up a small amount once you've put them in. So what I do is I go ever so slightly lower than the surface that I need to, and then they sort of come up to the right level. And I just touched the insert that I put on the side there, and that was a little bit warm. So you do have to be careful of that. That is right, it's the Vector 3D VLMP. What you can also do is you can push them in and then like press down on a flat surface, and then that just sort of locks them in place as well. Just make sure we've got all of those in. So the iron is getting quite hot now, so I've just turned that down slightly, because otherwise if it's too hot you end up like really melting them in, or they go in too fast. We'll just put this one in. So what temp am I using? Now see, the problem is I'm not entirely sure how accurate the temperature gauge is, because it's like a little wheel with a dial, and at the moment it's about 225, and I've turned that down Normally on my other soldering station one, I use about 250, maybe a bit more, 260. We'll try and get as many of these done as possible. These might actually be the last ones, so we'll do these. So we've got 2 on this. 2 on each side, I should say. Let's turn it down then, let's go 200. Obviously it's going to be a little bit warm now. Yeah, these are going in quite quickly because it's quite warm. So we'll just do these last 2 and then we'll have to turn it off for a little while. Yeah, I mean, I think it also depends a lot on the iron you're using as well. So if you have an iron that gets particularly hot, one that's not perhaps as regulated as others, but I mean they all went in really nicely. But it's very hard to show you on this camera, to be fair. So there's so we've got some parts there. Could be I'm using, yeah. So I won't have the instructions on screen because it's just a Voron manual. But so we need to do a bit of preparation on the hot end. So that should be in here. We'll need them. Don't need that. So this is the Dragon High Flow that came in the kit. And we basically have to remove the cylindrical bit. There's 4 screws in there. I think we need them later. And I don't know if this is if Siboor do this or Fastener do it, but they've got they've sort of marked where the screw. Can you see that yellow bit? They've sort of marked on the body and on the screw where they line up. I don't know if they've done that to know, well, I don't really know why they've done that, to be perfectly honest with you. Maybe they don't want you to actually undo it, but we're going to. because we will be rigid mounting our hot end, not with a groove mount. I will put them back in the bag, I think. Just get this screw out. There we go. So we've also got to install the heater and the thermistor at this point as well. So these are all got the appropriate sized leads on and everything to go into the Toolhead PCB. And then the thermistor has got these, like, the wires have got like yeah, I'm not sure how to describe it really. Like, they're like plastic coated wires that go all the way up to the connector. Interesting. Right, so that we don't actually get a picture of how we're meant to install the hot end, the heater and the thermistor. I'm just going to scroll down. So I think there's a picture, yeah, of where they, so when we put it in this part, we want obviously the nozzle to be it doesn't really show you that well. I'm just having a look at the orientation of to where I want it. To be honest, it doesn't really look as if it matters. Like, they're both, whichever way you put it around, the nozzle is basically in the middle of the fan ducts. So I don't know if it's to do with the heater block itself. I guess it needs to go with the block, yeah, facing away from that additional bit. So they've got the heater going in this side and then sort of wrapping around the block, but I think I'm just going to put them both in the same side. Or shall I put it in the other side? Has anyone got an opinion on which side to put the heater and the thermistor? Should we go in this side and then wrap the cable round, or should we just put it in both the same side? Let's see if we get the right Allen key. Going to have a closer look at how this, I have built an Afterburner once before, whatever looks neater. And see, the problem is, I know a lot of Z probes, leveling sensors, get melted, and it could be because the block is actually the wrong way round. So I'm just trying to work out which way round. So this side goes against the, so that bit will be closest to the heater block. This back plate here is the bit that goes closest to the probe. So to me it would make more sense if the heater was furthest away from that. Yeah, I think that's what that. The picture on there is not particularly. Oh, that's a better picture, I think. Yeah. Yeah. So we're going to put it in that way. On my rat rig, the wires are away from the Z probe. Yeah. I suppose what they're actually doing is putting it that way around and then almost wrapping the wires around the heater block as maybe as some sort of insulation, I guess. I don't know. What I actually like to do also is to pre-bend the wires, because the wires come out of the heater block straight, and not the heater block, the cartridge straight. You don't want to put too much strain on them. So what I normally do is, about with the thickness of the pliers, is then use those as sort of leverage to bend the heater wires. So that we can get it into a sort of 90 degree. And this is a clamping style cartridge. So we need to put a little bit of force on it to actually bend the housing closed. But only really enough to bend it to stop the heater cartridge from falling out. And I'm just trying to get it sort of reasonably even. There we go. Just enough really to hold it in. So this will basically wrap around the block like that, I think. But you don't want to put too much force on it. And then we'll put the thermistor in the other side. And this is also a screw to clamp down on the and that needs very little really to clamp down. So this then goes in here like this. And then we need some screws. I've sort of skipped some steps. Let's just go back a bit. So we need 2.5 by 8 mil screws. I think those are the ones that come separate in the bag. Sounds very similar to a heater. Yeah. But of course we're all trying to get used to the Revo blocks now. Yeah, so these are the 8mm or 2.5 by 8mm screws. Okay. Just make sure I've got everything where it needs to be. So this is basically going to wrap around there, and then this is going to go up there. So we'll put a couple of screws in to hold this side. That's one. And it's just a matter of really getting things to line up properly. I'm not sure if that one's actually doing up. Let's try and do that one first. I'm not sure if it's either this hole, this screw is not very good, or just doesn't feel as if it's going in right. Let's have a closer look. Yeah, the problem is the ball end on the Allen key, when it goes into the socket, it just basically spins round. So let me see if I've got a suitable non-ball end over here. Yeah, this should do it. Let's try that again. So did I say that was I think that was the right way around, wasn't it? Yeah. Yeah, that's gone in a lot easier without a ball end on the Allen key. There we go. We might better just tighten them up a little bit with the end. Or not. Yeah, I don't think these screws are particularly good. But that should basically be how that works, I think. And then we need some M316s, which should be these ones. It's always the driver you haven't got out that you need, isn't it? We don't want to tighten screws down too much so that you pull anything out of plastic or anything like that. So I don't see if it's asking for more screws. No, I think it only asks you to use 2 screws, but I'm going to put in as many as I can because I prefer my hot ends to stay where they're meant to. Yeah, so I've just been able to get a little bit more on them by using the shorter end of the driver. So then hopefully this cable will basically wrap round here, collect this one on its way, and then we've got some zip tie mounts. So it should basically look like that, I think. Let's see if what's on the next step. I could actually bring the document one up for you. I'll just enable that again. So then it wants a 25.9 mil. But it hasn't asked us to. Okay, it does that in the next step. So we need to cut a piece of PTFE basically. And the kit actually came with some red PTFE, so we might as well use that. And it wants it, as I said, to be 25.9, which is rather precise. It's never that easy to cut PTFE, or yeah, to cut it to exactly the right size. So what I'm going to do is basically get the measurement on our caliper. What did I say? 25.9. I've gone way too far. That's near as damn it. And then these aren't particularly accurate calipers, so I also like to just get a ruler just to make sure I'm sort of roughly in the ballpark. Yeah, more or less. And then what I'll do is I'll mark it with a pen. And then the kit actually came with some PTFE cutters. So we'll see how accurate we can get this. It'd be helpful if the pen actually worked. There we go. And we'll just try and verify that roughly with a normal ruler. Yeah. And then we have to try and cut it accurately as well. And then hopefully that's roughly where we need it. Yeah, I wouldn't say that's too far off actually. And then it wants us to put that into the end. Whoops. Probably would have been better to put that in before I tightened it up, but there you go. We could just slightly make sure that hole is tight, is the right size. We're going to need a drill bit out in a minute anyway. So it should be roughly a 4mm diameter. Let's just see if that goes in slightly better. Yeah, so I'm just gonna enlarge that hole a bit. Doesn't really say sort of how much needs to stick out the top. So that sort of feels as far as it's going in, so hopefully that's about right. I'm sure we can fine tune it later if we need to. So we also need some M3x40 screws. Which are these ones? M3x40, yep. So they'll go in there. And we need a couple of zip ties to attach our bundle. Now hopefully these zip ties actually fit in the holes, because these are known to be quite small holes. They do sort of fit, but not quite, so we might have to pull them through. Yeah, so that's this next job basically, is to cable tie some cables out of the way. Sounds like my music stopped again. Let's have a look. Yep. Okay. Yeah, they're not too bad to pull through the gap, but they're a little bit tight. We don't need to sort of really go too mad with putting the cable tie on. If anyone's got a V0, you know the cable tie tabs on the mini Afterburner are incredibly small. And that's quite difficult to get zip ties that fit that. There we go. Just try to roughly keep the cables sort of together. Yeah, that's not too bad, I don't think. Yeah, so I think I said in the unboxing video that I'm not gonna sort of stream the whole build, mainly because there's so many people doing Voron builds that it would be a bit pointless for me to do the whole build. So I'm sort of building it offline and then just sort of bringing you back when I do certain things. So let's get a pair of snips and take them off. We're going to have to bring the rest of the printer over in a second anyway, so you'll see how much I've done. But that's quite a sort of fairly neat little package. Flat flush on the back. So yeah, that looks okay. Just make sure that these are tightened down. yeah, so the next thing is to actually try and put yeah, Ronnie, as I've said in a couple of videos, the way I sort of work is that I sort of come outside into my little work hack shack, whatever you want to call it, and I sort of do a little bit of stuff, and I'm not sort of trying to build a whole printer or do a whole project in one go. Didn't think I was good about to get that stock back on for a minute, but that's gone on alright. Yeah, so sometimes I can come out here and I could do, but I could probably have done the whole build by now if I really wanted to. Wrong window. I'm just sort of tidying a few bits away. We've got to bring the printer over. All my stuff's falling on the floor. Chuck him on the floor. Move that out of the way. Turn them off. Working on a website and watching YouTube on Extras today, but I was just, when I just got, I needed to remind to click the website window again before typing. My tea's gone cold. Let's put this over it. We'll unplug this. Right, hopefully that'll be enough room. Don't want to lose a bit down the hole. So I'll see if I can bring the whole printer back over now. Here we go. Just make sure we're not on any leads. Nope. So I don't think I'm going to be able to show you the overhead camera now. No, you're not going to see anything. So I'll keep it on that one so you can see more. So basically what we've got to do now is this can go onto our thing here. So the sort of so we've got these two screws in the top here that are like they're just purely sort of locating bolts, and then this sort of goes up on those to locate itself. And then I don't know if you heard that click in. Basically that's now sort of where it's going to be, where it's going to sit, and then we use the two 40mm M3x40s to actually screw it to the carriage. So this hole is a bit, let me just turn that a bit. Yeah, I think it's got to go up just a touch more on this side. Whoops. So we'll try and get this screw in. Just doesn't feel as if it wants to go in. I think it's because it doesn't quite line up. Yeah, let's have a look, see if we can adjust that. What's going on there? I think it's just printed part, trying to get multiple printed parts lined up. That's the issue. There we go. So we should better screw this in now. There we go. Just got to tighten those up a bit. Those sort of locating things. They're not actually used to hold it as such. They're just there to sort of locate it. So I think that's on. Yeah. So this is what I'm talking about with the Siboor manual. Is that if you weren't here earlier, I was saying that one of the things I fed back was that they've edited the manual for their needs, but it doesn't now flow. If you look, let me put that on, and then I have to keep disabling these. Let's see if I can move this whole thing. There we go. Let's go over this side. So as you can see here, we're on page 156. We go down to the next page, we're on 166. So they've sort of put things out of order because we wouldn't be mounting the hub board, as they call it, straight after putting this on. So it's just that. So we've gone now 158. 159, so we're missing 157 somewhere. So what I think I'm going to do is go over to the official document, which I probably should have done in the first place, but you never know. Okay, so this is, I should probably check that. So the official manual is telling us we should be 10 mil above the surface of the printed part, which we're not, but I'm not entirely sure if that corresponds to this. Yeah, so I think we'll keep going for now and we'll see where we get to. But yeah, I definitely need to feed back that they're, well, by changing stuff, they're really sort of messing about with the order of things. So let's move on and then we'll come back to that later. So we need to put our drive pinion onto our thing, and I need stuff out of here. Yeah, that'll be, I am looking forward to when this is going to be up and running as well, Ronnie. I've been using my V0 today, and if it's anything like that, then I'm going to be very happy, I think. So let's just get out the part we need rather than the whole bag at the moment. So we're going to need this little thing. So there's various little jigs you can print, and this is like basically a thing just to make sure you get the the gear the right distance away from the body. But what we also need to do is just take this screw out so we can put some Loctite on. So let me find the Loctite. I think it's in this box. No, I've just remembered where it is. It's in this box. So this is the Loctite stick that I was talking about that you can get from Halfords. We don't need a lot on here, and this is a tiny little grub screw, so there we go. Right, so according to the documentation, it needs to go down this way and basically rest on the printed part. So it'll end up being 3.2 mil away from the body. And obviously remembering to get the grub screw on the flat of the thing. So hopefully that's right. I'm not going to bother to check. And then we need, so that's that done. I'm going to need a printed part, which is this bit, and we need the motor, the wire to stick out this side. And I realise you can't see that very well, but, and then we need some more hardware. So let's move this box. So the only problem with my little workshop is I haven't got enough room. M3 8, and that goes into this hole. And this is a slightly sort of elongated hole to allow for a little bit of movement. So we can put that aside for 1 second. I need a few more bits out of this bag now. There we go. So we've now got to put our drive gear, and that's the one with the grub screw in. And that will go round that way. I'm going to put a little bit of Loctite on there as well. Trying not to lose the screw, the grub screw, because it's teeny tiny. There we go. Don't need a lot. So there's actually already a bearing on this side. I'm not entirely sure if that's going to work right. Because I thought that was meant to be flush, that end. But let's proceed. We've got to find the bugs. So I might have tightened that on a little bit too much. There we go. So So according to the manual here, the placement, the filament gear needs to be fully seated against the drive gear shaft. So we'll just make sure that the grub screw is on the flat. And that should hopefully be there. So we'll just tighten that. And hopefully that's in the right place. And then we need this little bearing here to go on the other end. Like that. And then this is going to go into that housing we had a second ago. So this is going to go in here basically. Just like that. I think that's, there we go, that's in correctly. Cool. Check for clearance. I'm not entirely sure how you're supposed to check for clearance when you've put the gear in, but it sounds okay, so we'll just have to assume it is. Then we need this bit, and then some M330s. So let me get those first. M330s, those ones there. So that sounds like it's all spinning okay. And then we have to put an M330 in to this top hole and then to this hole. And then try and locate the hole underneath. There we go. So that sounds like that's going round okay. Yeah, everything seems to be moving okay, and the filament guide appears to be sort of in the middle of the groove. So just making sure we all look right what we've got there. Yeah. Hello Sam, how are you? Yeah, always happy to build a Voron. Just getting the Afterburner built tonight though. So that should all be okay where we are now. So we now need to build our bearing run. We need this. We need this. I assume it's this smaller shaft. Yeah. Where are you getting your kit from, Sam, if you don't mind me asking? LDO. Let's see if my microphone will stretch over here. Just need to get some lube. There we go. We get a bit of kitchen roll while we're here. Yeah, LDO. Cool. They do make a nice kit. There's no denying that. So we need to add some lubricant to our gear. So what I tend to do is just put a bit of a blob on here, then put the bearings on, twisting them as I put them on to sort of spread it about. Maybe even sort of taking it off, and what we could probably do is put that on the other end. Put this one on. Just spread it about a bit, really. Have you got a 2.4 or a Trident, or I'd imagine maybe the Trident? What we're basically trying to do here is get enough on so that we cover everything, but not too much on that we like completely cover everything in lubricant. So once I've done that, we then put it into this printed part basically, and that should sort of snap into place like that. And we'll just make sure we haven't got any on the filament gear. We just want to try and get that so it's sort of fairly even. So that should be fine. So we need to put this little thing in. I think this is called the shuttle, and that sort of goes in up there, and then so let's get that screw out first so we're ready to go. We put the door on there. We put this bit in there. We want an M320 as well, which will be there. Oops. There we go, it's got that in. Just tighten, oh, wrong one. Just tighten that down a bit. Oops, there we go. We don't want that too tight because that's basically like a lever. Now we want this one to go in here, and this is creating a hinge basically. And that will screw into this here. And that's actually going into one of the heat press inserts we put in earlier. We'll just get that flush, I think. the other smaller one. And then we want this and this. Trying to juggle all these things into the right place at the same time is a bit difficult. But what we're basically trying to do is create the door mechanism. Yeah, the V0.1. So we should hopefully have the 0.2 and then this should basically come down and click into that, but it's not doing it at the moment. Yeah, so the V0.2 should be coming out fairly soon, I think. So that basically clicks in like that. And then we've got a little bit of tension that we can put on the screw for our filament. So I have actually put one of these together before, but not on a Voron. I had it on something else. So it now wants us to put on the cable chain mount, which goes on here. So we've got to take 2 screws out of the stepper motor. So let's get an appropriate screwdriver. I don't know if you're still here, Sam, but I've got a 0 over there as well. They're a fun little build, actually. Fiddly, but they are cool. So I wonder if this screw here is actually too long, because it's coming out all the way out of the body. I'm just going to check that, because I'm not entirely sure that it should be that long, because when we put it on here, that's alright, it sits further away from the thing. So I'm not entirely sure that that should be okay. We'll just assume it is. Help if I put it the right way around. Yeah, we'll see. I think that's okay. Yeah, so we've got to take these two screws out of the back of the stepper. I'll just move that page down, there we go. And then we want M320s, which are these ones. So then our cable chain mount can go on here like this. Just like that. So I don't think we want to put the cover on yet, because then we won't be able to actually do anything else. But let's just see if it fits where it says it's going to fit. So I think this will then go on here like this, and that does line up with the holes. But we don't need that just yet, I don't think. So now we can put this onto the rest of the assembly. So we need an M320 and an M330. So that's a 20. That's a 30. And the 20 will go in this side. Like that. And then this one will go in this side. And I will probably have to take this off at some point anyway, just because I've got to sort of wire things up and move stuff around, so make sure we don't get any wires stuck. Yeah, I think our PTFE tube is a little bit long because we're not quite sitting down right. So I'm just going to try and cut that PTFE tube. I wonder if I'll even be able to use these. No. But do I want to take that out? How high up are we? We're about 2 millimeters too high. What options have we got? What I might have to do is to take this bit of tube out, which I'm not sure how easy that's going to be, because I did push it in quite hard. So I might have to destroy that piece and then put a new piece in, but I'll obviously cut this one a couple of mil too short, or shorter I should say. I think that's probably the best bet. Out. So instead of making it 25.9, we'll make it 23.9. We'll get rid of that. So we can cut another piece of tube. Let's move this out of the way. Let's get our calipers. Where did I put them? Don't think I put them in the box. I'll put them in here. There we go. So it's 25.9, wasn't it? But we're going to take a couple of mil off that. So we'll go 22.9, 23, 24. We'll go a little bit more. And we'll try and mark another bit. I like stopping the music for some reason if you're not, so I'm playing the music through YouTube, so just get that back going. And let's try and mark another piece of tube. There we go. So that's our bit of tube off. Hopefully this will be a bit better. So it shouldn't be too much smaller than this one, but it should be enough that it now fits in better, hopefully. So it should be 10 mil above. Yeah, that's a bit better. Let me just see if I've got a bit of filament to stick in there. Well, it makes its way down, so should be okay. So now hopefully when we put this on, that will sit a bit better and we'll better get the bolts in the back. This short one is not wanting to go in at the moment. The other one is. might just be because it's not quite down right. There we go. So that's now basically down stuttered. Is that okay now? Should be okay, I think. I've not, doesn't seem to be having too many problems. I think it's okay. So I'm just going to see if the filament path's pretty clear. So yeah, I think that's getting all the way down. Was just a glitch in the matrix, I reckon. So what's the next step? Next step is, I think it's the fans. Where's my mouse? Let's just put you over to that. Yeah, so we're now got to do the fans basically. And they are in here. So these are Afterburner fans. We've got a 4010 fan that goes in this part, No. Am I missing a bit? I might not have got them all out yet. Let's have a look. Where is the that bit has, there it is, over there, that bit. So this for our 40mm fan. Doesn't really show us which way the cable goes at the moment, so we'll take the cover off this fan, which is what we've got to do. I'm not entirely sure if we're meant to cut anything flush or if we can just clip the case off. Just like that, which you probably couldn't see, but this basically comes off so that we can then sit this in here. We have our fan cable come out the back, and that basically just fits in there like that. Let's change camera. Just like that. Again, black on black, not good about to see it, but yeah. Again, that's not telling me. We want this to blow in, but I'm just not sure which side the cable is meant to go on to yet. Hopefully that'll become a bit clearer as we go. Alright, so we're going to do this bit first. This bit sits nicely on the front. with the wire, route the wires through the large opening on the back. So we want some M316s for this. They are these ones. And these are screwing into plastic, so we don't want to go too tight on these. All we're really doing is just to get them flush. Like that. What I like about this part of the Afterburner is it's the sort of, this is sort of the bit that you know it's a Voron. It's got the Voron, obviously the Voron branding, and it just looks as if that makes it makes the Voron, if you know what I mean. Right, so where does it want the cable for this to go? Because this is obviously going to sit on here. We'll use a bit of this filament. There we go. Good boy. That's fallen off. So, looks as if it wants us to put it in here. It doesn't help that they decided to use a bit of hot glue on the fan wiring. I'm just going to take that off because we don't need that. Because what we want to do is basically tell it where we want that cable to go. Which is there, basically. Then that goes up there. And basically we'll stick out this little side here. So we then want some M312s, which were these ones. We want 2 of them. I'll put that one back. And then we want some M330s. So we basically now want to try and get this onto here, while still keeping our wires free. Again, not being too tight on anything here. Not until we know everything's where it needs to be and anything like that. So then our smaller ones go in the bottom. And the plastic is sort of just a little bit preventing the screw from going in, but just pushing that in a little bit harder and it goes. Just make sure the fans spin, which they do. And then it's basically sort of Toolhead PCB side time. Which I won't do now because, like I say, I might have to play around with a few things and cut a few cables, etc. But that is basically our Toolhead done. Let me just have a little bit of a clear up and I'll try and get a camera so you can actually see what I've done. What's everyone up to the rest of the weekend then? If I've still got anyone listening. We've got two viewers. One of them could be me though. So there might just be one of you left. Are you still here, Ronnie? Well, obviously this little cover will go on the side. But there we go, that's our tool head put on. So I've obviously got to cut wires and crimp and everything like that. Let me just show you so the Toolhead PCB comes with the kit, and then basically what will happen is that this will go on the side here, yeah, never going to attract too many viewers unfortunately, but just know that you two are valued and you are my favourite two viewers, put it like that. So yeah, this is the little Toolhead PCB. Now because this is Afterburner and not Stealth Burner, if you want to upgrade to Stealth Burner afterwards, you have to run some separate cable for your LEDs, which is why I'll build it like this for now, and then we'll come back and do that later. But yeah, this is our Toolhead PCB. But I think other than that, we're pretty much done for this part of the stream, or this episode I should say. Is there anything, if I were to stream a part of the build that you would want to see. Like for example, who would want like an electronics / wiring stream? Hello there, mate. Oh, we've got a total of 3 now. You're my favourite 3 viewers. I know there's someone on one of the forums I go on. I've got, well, you're all my favourite viewers, however many there are. It comes with it, Sebastian. You got your FormBot kit, nice. Is that a 2.4 or the 0 or Trident? So it came with the PCB, all the connectors and the pins. But all those connectors are actually redundant because the wiring loom has already got them on. 2.4, nice. So you're going to be in the process of printing all your parts. You probably were. My memory on some things is atrocious. Oh no, I tell a lie, I do remember. That'd be interesting actually to compare your 2.4 kit from FormBot to this one. I had heard that they were providing some printed parts. Are they plastic as in CNC nylon, or are they plastic as in ABS? I'm definitely gonna have to move that camera. Oh, injection molded, okay. What parts did it come with? As in, yeah, did you get quite a few? Is it, I don't understand that. Did it come with, like enough to build the printer, and then you would print, say, the skirts and panel clips? Me specifically, or Siboor? Siboor have now got a Discord, which there should be a link in the description. I haven't. Back filter. Yeah, so this basically came with, I don't know, like the functional ABS parts, which means I've got everything I need to build the printer, and then the idea is to then use the printer to print the rest. The only problem with that is it doesn't come with the panel clips. So I mean, you can print ABS on an open printer, that's not impossible. But what I'm doing is using my V0 to print the panel clips, because they're small and I can get enough on a build plate to not be too bad if I get a failure. And then I'll put the panels on and use this to print the rest of the skirts. But other than that, it has come with all the parts, so. Collie, are you on the Vector 3D Discord? And is your name Sean? I think you told me it was because I was calling you Collie. I tell you what, I love that V0. Yeah, so what we could do, we should probably ask Adam first actually, but we could perhaps compare our two Voron kits on there in the Voron channel. It'd be quite interesting. So basically the next section according to the Voron manual is electronics. What does the Siboor one have? Also electronics, the power inlet. Electronics are my favourite bit actually. Yeah, I'm pretty happy with it so far. I'll probably go over everything sort of off camera, off stream, to make sure I've done it all correctly and everything lines up and everything like that, but I don't see why it shouldn't. Everything should be okay. Yeah, so obviously off camera I've done all the Z drives, the gantry, cleaned and lubricated the rails, put those on, put the belts on. We've now done the tool head. Yeah, I sort of decided that I didn't want like another pre-built printer. So, because I enjoy doing all of the building, that's my favourite part. So, and I built the V0. That is a little bit fiddly, to be honest. I've got quite big hands, but I would say the hardest part of the V0 build so far, if we include the mods I've done afterwards, is actually putting the Kiriyami bed on. Because you basically have to almost disassemble the whole thing, apart from most of the frame, or the frame, to get the old bed off. But other than that, it was quite easy to do. And that's now got LEDs in and all sorts. And I've now got the clipper expander to put on, because what I'll be doing, because basically I've reached the limit of the control board. I found a way to run two sets of RGB LEDs, because the Kiriyami bed has one, so that's separate from the others. Yeah, satisfying when you've built it. It is actually, but that's not like the whole story. Once you've built it, you've then got to do some elements of tuning and sort of ironing out a few, if you've made a few slight errors along the way. But again, that's quite an enjoyable part of it. I know Vector 3D, when he built his, he then does a couple of extra streams, because he does all his on stream, where he does like some acceleration tuning and stuff like that. I might have to watch his video, his live streams, to about then do it on mine. So I think we've been going about 2.5 hours. I think I'm probably done now. If there's any last questions, then get them in. Otherwise, I'll call it a night. I've got to clear up a bit before I can even get out. Because what you can basically see was about an arm's length, and then you're at a door. Because right here is my tool changer. But I've now just got everything on the floor, so I can't actually get out yet. So I'll assume there's no other questions and we can call it a night. Thank you for everyone who's watched, who stayed to have a chat. Yeah, nice couple of hours. This is the sort of stream I can handle, where I can just do one thing basically. I can't remember, don't even know how Nero managed to do a build in a day. I must have nearly killed him. But yeah, yep. Have a good night, everyone. Thank you for watching. Leave any comments if you've got them, any questions, and I'll try and get back to you. So thank you for watching. See ya.